Story 1. My name's Rico, and I drive Uber almost every night because I work in an auto shop during the day. I like the routine, pick people up, drop them off, and keep it moving. Nothing crazy ever happened to me until that one night when I picked up someone who knew way too much about my life. The ride popped up on my app like any other quiet part of downtown Phoenix. Profile picture showed a dude in dark sunglasses, but you couldn't really see his face. When I pulled up, I saw somebody standing under a streetlight. Tall, skinny guy, white button-up, dark pants. He walked up to the car with steady steps and opened the back door. "Good evening," I said first. "Good evening, Rico." He answered back calm. I tensed up a little. Sure, passengers see my name in the app, but the way he said it, like he already knew me, that's kind of felt off to me. I glanced at the screen, destination locked in, about 15 minutes to some residential area on the edge of town. I started driving, tried to break the silence. "Coming from work?" He didn't answer directly. Instead, he dropped something that had me a little concerned. "From your shop. How's your partner doing?" Still complaining about his back? I looked at him through the rearview mirror. His eyes were locked onto me. No phone outs, no earbuds, nothing. I bit my lip. Nobody could know my coworker had been dealing with back pain for weeks. "How do you know that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The man smiled wider. "I know a lot of things, Rico. For example, I know you don't like sleeping with the window open because you feel like someone's watching you from the street. I know your wife always leaves the kitchen lights on at night because she's afraid of tripping in the dark." Sweat ran down my forehead. I gripped the wheel harder, stomach dropped. I wanted to think maybe it was a trick, maybe he looked me up online, but how the hell would he know about the window, about my wife? I don't tell anyone about that. "Look, I don't know who you are or how you know this stuff, but I don't like games," I said, trying to sound firm. The man didn't flinch. "I also know about your son, Rico. What happened that night you never told anyone? The accident on the desert highway when he was riding with you." The car almost swerved into the curb. I slammed the brakes, breathing hard. "That topic, only my closest family knew. Nobody else." "Who the hell are you?" I yelled, turning around. The backseat was empty. I sat there frozen, heart pounding so loud I could barely breathe. The car was stopped in the middle of the street and there was nobody back there. I checked the app. The ride was still active, route still marked, destination unchanged. I looked back at the rearview mirror and there he was again, sitting like he never disappeared. "I told you, I know a lot about you, and we still haven't reached the end of the trip." My instincts screamed at me to stop, kick him out, run, but my hands wouldn't move. They were stuck to the wheel, frozen. I kept driving, knowing this ride was gonna end way worse than I thought. Every second in the driver's seat felt like it was stretched forever. The passenger kept staring right at me, no words at first, just a calm expression that chills your soul. The silence between us was heavy, suffocating. "You want water, coffee?" I asked, trying to break the tension, even though it sounded stupid coming out of my mouth. "I don't need anything," he said. And he said it without moving his lips much, like the voice came from somewhere else in the car. "I just want you to listen." The car rolled forward slowly, and as it did, I started noticing weird stuff going on. The streetlights behind us seemed to shut off one by one, like something was following us through the dark. The houses looked empty, silent. Desert wind pushed against the cacti and dead brush, but nothing else moved. Everything around me turned this cold, washed out color I'd never seen before. "Rico," he finally said, "the night you almost lost your son, I was there." Sweat poured down my back. What the hell did he mean by that? I gripped the wheel, tried to remember, but the images came on their own. The car skidding on the loose gravel, my son screaming, the guardrail that we barely missed. I swallowed hard. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows the secrets you keep. You don't need to be afraid." "Not yet," he whispered, and I felt his breath on my car. Even though we hadn't moved, the air got thick. and suddenly dizziness hit me. The dashboard light started flickering, the GPS reset itself, and the app's voice said we were only a few meters from the destination. My heart was about to explode. I knew I couldn't look back again. Finally, we arrived at the address. The streets were empty, the house out front looked normal, but I could feel this strange vibration like something invisible covered it. The passenger stood up slowly. "Thanks for the ride, Rico. Remember, what happens in the dark is never forgotten." I tried to react, open the door, ask him to wait, but when I looked back, the seat was empty. No sign anyone had been there. No smell, no shadow, nothing. Just the car, me, and the crushing silence of the Arizona night. I sat there for a few seconds, hands shaking on the wheel. I looked around and, for the first time in years, I felt real fear. I called my wife, told her what happened, voice cracking. She didn't believe me at first, of course not, but when I mentioned details nobody could know, even she went quiet. That day, I learned something that still haunts me. Not every passenger wants to go home from point A to point B. Some come with something else, secrets nobody should know. And the passenger never showed up in the app again, but I know he's still watching me. Ever since that night, every time a man gets in my car and says my name without checking the app, I feel the same chill. I don't dare look back, not even when the reflection in the mirror seems to move on its own. And sometimes, when I'm driving alone at night through the empty Phoenix streets, I hear my name is whispered in the wind coming through the crack in my window. The passenger who knows everything about you might be closer than you think. Now, our next story comes from an Uber driver in Las Vegas who's been doing this for the past 5 years. My name is Mateo, I'm 29 and I've been driving Uber in Vegas for about 5 years now. The city never sleeps and neither do I, at least not much. I thought I've seen it all working these streets. Drunk tourists, quiet gamblers, people running from bad decisions, but nothing prepared me for what started happening a few weeks ago. It began with a passenger who seemed normal enough. Middle-aged guy, leather jacket, Dodgers cap pulled low, got in around 2 a.m., gave me an address in Henderson, then sat quiet the whole ride just staring at his phone. When he got out, I did my usual check of the back seat. That's when I saw a small wooden chess piece, a black knight sitting right where he'd been. One of those hand-carved ones that feels old and heavy. I figured he'd call about it, but nobody did. I tossed it in my glove box and kept working. 2 nights later, different passenger, woman in her 40s, business suit, looked exhausted. She took a call in Spanish the whole ride. Never even looked at me. When she got out near the strip, she left behind a pocket-sized notebook. It was open to a page with a single sentence underlined 3 times. "The thing you buried doesn't stay buried." I was nervous because when I was 16, I buried my dog in my parents' backyard after he got hit by a car. I never told anyone. I blamed myself. I left the gate open. That memory sat in me like a stone for years. I never talked about it, not once. I tried telling myself it was random, just some philosophical bullshit someone wrote, but my hands were shaking when I closed that notebook. The 3rd night, an older man got in, white type, smelled like cigarettes and old cologne. He didn't say much, just nodded when I confirmed his destination. The whole ride, he kept staring out the window like he was looking for something. When I pulled up to his spot, a rundown apartment complex off the strip, he got out without a word. On his seat, a Polaroid photo. It was me, standing outside my apartment building, taken from across the street. The date stamped on the bottom, 3 days ago. I felt my throat close up. I grabbed the photo, got out of my car and looked around. The street was empty. No cameras I could see, no one watching. I tried calling the passenger through the app, but the number was disconnected. That's when I knew this wasn't random. Somebody was watching me. They were leaving me pieces of a puzzle that I didn't want to solve. Over the next week, it kept happening. Different passengers, different objects, but every single one is connected to me In some way, something I'd hidden or forgotten. A pack of cigarettes, the same brand my dad smoked before he left when I was 10. A small cross necklace, identical to the one my ex-girlfriend wore, the one she said I'd never respected. A receipt from a pawn shop showing the exact model of my mom's wedding ring, the one I sold when I was broke and desperate, telling her I lost it. Each item felt like a sentence, a reminder, a judgment. I started keeping everything in a shoebox in my trunk. I didn't know what else to do. Every time I picked the passenger now, my chest tightened. I watched them in a rear view, waiting to see what they leave behind. That one night, I got a ping for a pickup at a 24-hour diner on Fairmont Street. When I pulled up, a man in the black hoodie got in. He didn't give me an address, he just said, "Drives." "Where to?" I asked. "You'll know when we get there." I should have kicked him out, but something in his voice made me listen. I started driving, no destination, just going where he pointed. Left here, right there, straight through this intersection. After about 20 minutes, we ended up in a part of town I didn't recognize. He told me to stop in front of an old warehouse with boarded up windows. "Get out," he said. "Man, I'm not..." "Get out now." I got out. My legs felt weak, but I followed him to the side of the building. There was a door, rusted and half open. He pushed it and it creaked loud enough to make me flinch. Inside the place was gutted. Concrete floors, exposed beams, broken glass everywhere, and in the center of the room, under a single hanging bulb, was a table. On the table, every object that had been left in my car, the chess piece, the notebook, the Polaroid, the cigarette, the necklace, the receipt, all of them arranged in a perfect line. "What the hell is this?" I asked. My voice was cracking. The man pulled back his hood. I didn't recognize his face, but his eyes, they were too calm. "This is everything you've tried to forget. Every lie, every mistake, every moment you thought you buried. I don't understand." "You don't need to understand," he said, stepping closer. "You just need to see." He pointed to the far wall. I turned and my breath caught. There were photos, dozens of them, pinned up like evidence, me at different ages, me with people I thought I'd forgotten about, me in places I tried to erase from my memory. And in the center, written in red marker across the concrete, "You can't outrun what you are." I stumbled back, heart hammering. "Who are you? Why are you doing this?" The man smiled, not cruel, just almost like sad. "I'm nobody," he said. "Just the one who collects what people leave behind." Then he walked past me, out the door and into the night. I heard his footsteps fade and then nothing. I stood there for I don't know how long, staring at objects, at the photos, at my own life laid out like a crime scene. When I finally left, I didn't take anything with me. I just got in my car and drove. I still drive Uber, I still work nights, but now every time someone gets in my car, I check for the seat to see if they leave anything. I don't know who that man was. I don't know if he's still watching, but every so often, when I'm driving alone on the empty Vegas street at 4 a.m., I see someone standing under a streetlight, watching, waiting, and I know he's not done with me yet. Story 3. My name's Louis, and I've been driving Uber in Miami for about 3 years now. I work nights because the money's better. Drunk club goers, airport runs, people leaving late shifts, you see all types. But I'll never forget the night I picked up a man who seemed to know things that hadn't happened yet. It was Friday, just past midnight. Traffic was finally clearing out from the usual South Beach chaos. I was tired, but I needed a few more rides before calling it. That's when the pink came through. The pickup was near Brickell. When I pulled up, I saw him standing under a flickering streetlight. Middle-aged guy, gray coat, fedora hat. Something about him made me pay attention immediately. He got in without saying much, just handed me an address and settled at the back seat. But before even a minute passed, he started talking. "Hey, take this route instead," he said, pointing towards the route. "I'll tell you a story while you drive." His voice was calm, a little too calm. At first, I thought he was just one of those passengers who talks to kill the silence, but I quickly realized that this wasn't normal. He started telling me about a car accident that happened 3 days ago at an intersection I pass almost daily. He described it with perfect detail. The make and model of both cars, the license plate of one, even how the witness reacted. I froze up for a second. I'd seen a brief post about the car crash on local Facebook groups, but the way he talked about it, it's like he was standing right there watching it happen. That's what kinda got to me. I tried to play it cool, nodding along while he kept going. Now turn on 8th Street, he said. There's an old building coming up. It has history most people forgot. As I made the turn, he described a fire that happened there a few weeks back. I'd only see a headline about it scrolling through Twitter one night, but he knew details. How it started, what floor, how long it took for firefighters to respond. He spoke like he'd been inside the building as it burned. I started feeling uneasy. Maybe he was just some local news junkie, I thought. Someone who reads every article, watches every report. But then his directions got stranger. Go down this side street instead of the highway. There's a tunnel ahead where a bad accident happened last month. Not many people remember it, but we can avoid the area. I followed his instructions, turning onto these dim, narrow back streets I rarely used, and everything he said checked out. The tunnel he mentioned, I had heard about an accident there, a fatal one. It wasn't big news. The worst part came when he pointed to a construction site and said, "Right here. Last year, a worker fell from the scaffolding. Nobody talks about it anymore, but it was brutal. Watch the sidewalk. It's uneven." Sure enough, the sidewalk was cracked and broken. I had to slow down just to avoid scraping my tire. His voice stayed calm the whole time, like he was guiding me with care. But I felt trapped. He was manipulating my route, taking me through back roads with no lights, no people, places where anything could go wrong. I glanced at him in the rearview mirror. He just stared out the window with his blank expression, like none of what he said surprised him. Then, right before I turned onto the pitch black street, he warned me, "This is where you need to pay close attention. There's something here most people miss, but if you do what I say, you'll be fine." My heart starts racing. I felt stuck between obeying him and suspecting something terrible was about to happen. I turned carefully, following his instructions exactly. The street was dead empty, just a couple of streetlights flickering and shadows stretching too long. Every few hundred feet he will tell me a new story, more accidents, more robberies, more tragedies, and every single one matched up with the local news I barely paid attention to. It was like he had an entire city's pain memorized. At one point, he'd stop me in front of the closed park. "Something happened here 2 weeks ago, but nobody wants to talk about it. Look at the bench, see the stains on the path. They're related." I looked and yeah, there were stark marks on the concrete. Could have been anything, could have been exactly what he said. I couldn't take it anymore. "How do you know all about this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Are you involved in something?" He smiled, calm, almost pitying. "No, I just know the city and you're driving. I'm just guiding you. Trust me, it's better this way." Something in his tone made me feel like I couldn't say no. We kept going, winding through narrow roads and dead-end streets. Then he started talking about an accident that, according to him, was happening right now, just a few blocks ahead. "It's unavoidable," he said. "You'll pass by it, just stay alert." My anxiety was through the roof. When I turned a corner, I saw it. A car pulled over with hazard lights flashing. Looked like a fender bender, fresh, recent. My chest tightened. He'd just predicted that. "See," he said quietly. "That's what I was talking about. Nothing serious, but if you take the main roads like you wanted, you would have been stuck there for an hour." I didn't know what to say. My hands were shaking on the wheel. Finally, we got to his address. He stepped out calmly, gave me a nod and said, "Remember, stay safe out there." I sat there for a long time, hands gripping the wheel, trying to process what the hell even happened. Nobody could explain how he knew the things were just happening, events that hadn't even made the news yet. Since that night, every time somebody gets in my car and starts suggesting weird routes, my skin crawls. Because I know there might be another passenger like him, someone who knows things they shouldn't. And the worst part, now when I drive, I keep wondering, will I pick him up again? And if I do, what would he tell me next? Because some passengers don't just need a ride, they need you to see something. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.